Palantir, dude. I can't wrap my hand around it, bro. I've done an analysis on it, and I just don't understand the company, man. So from the start, from the beginning, I'm 3 years old, bro. Tell me what the heck Palantir is.
Okay, at its most basic level, a company has data. That
Okay.
data spawns all across accounting, marketing, sales, operations, logistics, supply chains, etc. Palantir has a piece of software that says we will take all of that data that's in every bit and corner of your company and we'll bring it into one common operating system. And as a result of that, we will then help you find things from that data, insights, patterns, etc., that you can then make better decisions on. In a nutshell, that sounds kind of boring, right? It's like, all right, you just put a piece of software in it, it helps you understand it's business intelligence. But when you look at the application of it, which is where I think people fail to understand Palantir, because if you don't look at the application of it, you're going to think it's just like a boring B2B company. Healthcare, energy, supply chain, logistics, defense. There is just a variety of verticals, which is my investment thesis for why I invested in Palantir, that I think the software is going to be utilized in. And as a result, going to be able to essentially change entire industries, much less companies. And then you can get into the nitty gritty of the case studies of what they've done over the past 20 years. And so that's what they do. They take a piece of software, they plug it into your organization gets smarter, you save on your costs, you increase your revenue. And my bet is that every organization in the world will need something like Palantir in the next 20 years.
So my question is that why is it different from, let's say, a Snowflake, for example? Like they're also a data company, and there's other data companies out there. So why is Palantir so different?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the core thing about Snowflake and a lot of these other data processing companies is that they're essentially data warehouses, right? So they store the data, which is why Snowflake has like 8,000 clients, because everyone needs to store their data and manage the data. The unique differentiating moat of Palantir is the ability to drive insights and interpretation from the analytics of your data, which is very hard to do. To be able to look at a piece of data and then create predictive simulations of what's going to happen over the next 5 months and be able to figure out what this means in the context of real-time analysis and then make decisions off that. That's where business intelligence goes to a next level. And, the artificial intelligence boom is taking that to an even crazier level. So a lot of the other SaaS companies and competitors you mentioned, they don't really even compete with Palantir because they're not at the level of doing what they do, which is the whole 0 to 1 philosophy of like building a product that doesn't really have any competition. They are better at sales and they're better at marketing, but they're not really on the same level as tech. And that's where I give Palantir the edge.
I know Palantir. They released this one video. I think it's from their Gotham. I think Gotham is their
Government defense.
Government. Yes, that how they would respond to different situations and scenarios. I think that was really cool. I don't think there's any company or any data company that could do that. That was really unique.
A ship identification model detects the dimensions, speed, and weapon system of the destroyer headed north. An analyst back in the operations center verifies the detection, which confirms the Liu Yang is on the most dangerous path and is only a few hours away from the potential blockade.
This part that I don't understand, that how could what they do for the government section, they can do for the same thing for the company section, for their corporate sections.
Yeah, well, it's actually, Palantir is not a company that stores data. So like Tesla is a pure play data company because all of the FSD data they get from the cars that drive with it, it goes into their like AI dojo or machine or whatever they have to be able to fuel better FSD in the future. So that's data that's proprietary to them. Like they own the data they with the consent of the drivers, of course. Palantir doesn't own any data. They're just a tool that goes into a government, into an organization, and that organization fills Palantir with their data, which is highly confidential, securitized, all that stuff. And then Palantir helps them drive insights from it. So it's actually easier to work for enterprises because when you're handling the nuclear stockpile, which Palantir has a deal with the NNSA, when you're handling $400 million from the CDC, when you're getting $110 million from the Space Force, when you're getting millions of dollars from the Army and the military, like you're working with such highly classified and confidential data that working with enterprises is actually a little bit easier. So their commercial growth has been really good. Government growth has not been amazing over the past couple of years, but it's been pretty steady and sticky revenue. And so the bet is that every government in the world and every company in the world is going to need something like a Palantir. And if Palantir just captures 10 to 20% of that market, it's going to be a massive company.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen Palantir. They're making moves in the UK. I think it was in Japan, Europe, in Europe. I'm not too sure if they entered Ukraine with all the.
Well, they are in Ukraine. I mean, their defense software is on the battlefield in Ukraine. That is a fact. And so
seriously,
Yeah, that has been. I mean, Volodymyr Zelensky and Alex Karp took a picture together in June.
Yeah, this I saw, but I didn't know they were actually doing something.
No, they're actually they are legitimately using them. And so the Palantir gave them their software for free. They didn't charge for the software. And the goal is that if the software helps them maintain their sovereignty, right, and beat back Russia, or at least, if they don't win or lose the war, at least they don't die, they don't lose, right? It's not as bad as it could have been. Then the software was effective, and so it'll be a case study for every country in the world, in Europe, especially the countries in the Baltic states that are at the threat of Russia, to think of their software. NATO is going to be very, interested in Palantir software. They are already showing so much interest in Palantir software because you're getting into a world that's scarier, that's more deglobalized, and you need defense software that actually works. And if we have China, Taiwan, that's one of the Palantir theses is that the world is crazy, it's absurd, random shit happens. When the COVID pandemic happened, Palantir was the main vaccine distribution software that existed in the UK and the US. Palantir powers 13% of beds in the United States for hospitals. I mean, their software is so crucially integrated into some of the craziest scenarios, like a worldwide pandemic or a Ukraine war, that you could imagine they're going to be utilized in a lot of other places.
Wow. Well, I got to agree with Ivan here. He's saying that Palantir is a massive sheesh. It is a massive sheesh. Okay, so Palantir, to sum it up, is a data company that they don't hold the data, but it's a tool that helps governments and companies to utilize it. And I guess you can say summarize it in a way that no other data company can do for them.
Right. Basically.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay. And that's their and there's no other companies that can do what Palantir is doing. Like there's none other on the market. Like that's what. Wow.
I mean, obviously there are software competitors, but no one I've seen has the level of technology that Palantir has. Now there are a bunch coming, but Palantir introduced a product called AIP, which is basically ChatGPT for the enterprise, right? Very big market. Every business in the world is going to need some type of LLM that they can train their data on, large language models to be able to gain insights from. Palantir launched the product in May, had an entire conference in June, and is now scaling the product. Snowflake just acquired a company called Neva for $150 million to help them build everything that Palantir already launched. And so when I look at stuff like that, I'm like, Palantir didn't need to acquire a company because they're innovating in and of themselves. They had the architecture ready for the past 20 years. And then when the moment struck, when it was like, oh, this is the time to launch it, boom, they launched. And within a couple months, it's there. It's in the high end. Cisco, a $200 billion company, is on stage at Palantir's conference talking about how they use the product. So to me, it's like, I don't see any other company with the speed of innovation and the technical prowess that they have. Now, their revenue growth has been not the best over this year, but I think they're sandbagging their numbers. And if that revenue growth accelerates again, then this is going to be a really exciting company over the next couple of years.